U.S. lawmaker proposes Falun Gong Protection Act to stop Beijing's organ harvesting. U.S. presidential candidate Ron DeSantis supports canceling China's trade status. U.S. will face disaster if China's regime takes over Taiwan, ONI report. Chinese youth flock to Africa in search of better opportunities and higher wages. For the past 24 years, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has waged a brutal persecution campaign against Falun Gong. Falun Gong, or Falun Dafa, is a spiritual practice centered around truthfulness, compassion, forbearance, and meditation exercises. Unfortunately, followers of this practice have become the primary targets of forced organ harvesting, fueling China's booming organ transplantation industry. The issue of forced organ harvesting has been gaining momentum within the United States. Texas recently took action in June by enacting a law prohibiting health insurance companies from funding organ transplant surgeries related to China. Furthermore, in March, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill to punish individuals involved in forced organ harvesting. If approved by the Senate, these perpetrators will face consequences such as blocked access to property, visa restrictions, passport revocations, fines, and even criminal penalties. In a recent development, Representative Scott Perry, a Republican, introduced the Falun Gong Protection Act, H.R. 4132. The proposed bill seeks to impose sanctions on individuals implicated in these crimes, prohibiting them from entering the United States. Additionally, the bill proposes a policy that discourages Washington from engaging in cooperation with Beijing in the field of organ transplantation. The objective is to compel the Chinese regime to halt its persecution and collaborate with international allies and organizations to expose the mistreatment of Falun Gong practitioners and hold Beijing accountable. Perry said the CCP has used the tactics of other dictatorial and totalitarian regimes in the past to demonize and dehumanize their political opponents. He emphasized the gravity of the situation, stating that people are losing their lives and they are being tortured based on their faith, which is unacceptable. He stressed, people need to be aware it's happening. He said, it's the 21st century. They can't just turn their heads away and continue to act like the relationship that they have with the members of the Communist Party of China, or with China directly, is appropriate while they are doing these things. He added, everybody needs to be on notice, not only communist officials in China, but also those who would be operating in the United States of America, and American companies that would be seeking to participate and profit from these ill-gotten gains. He identified the Chinese government's training of surgeons in organ transplantation and providing them with drugs or medical expertise as part of the overall crime. According to Perry, the relationship with China should not be viewed as a mere business arrangement across diplomatic, administrative, economic, or entertainment fronts. He emphasized, we can't continue to just act like they're not occurring, and we can't continue to comport ourselves in the same fashion, because it would be tacit approval of these occurrences, and that simply cannot be. In a show of solidarity, Republican members of Congress Neil Dunn and Michelle Steele wrote a letter to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on June 27th, urging the State Department to take immediate action to restrict the involvement of industry participants connected to the CCP's forced organ harvesting industry. Dunn said, the first-hand accounts I've seen from victims and survivors of the CCP's inhumane actions are nothing short of horrific. Any Chinese healthcare professionals participating in organ harvesting are committing crimes against humanity. Furthermore, the American Association of Physicians and Surgeons has released a statement condemning forced organ harvesting and urging U.S. officials and medical practitioners to take a firm stance against this cruel practice. Perry sees his proposed bill as an opportunity to raise awareness about live organ harvesting. He aims to bring the bill before the U.S. House of Representatives, following bipartisan support in the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He said, it has been going on too long, and it has not captivated the attention of the free world as it should have. But we need to continue to just work every single day to bring this to the consciousness of free people and of all the people in the world that this is occurring in the 21st century. You wouldn't allow this in your family. You wouldn't allow this among your friends or in your business dealings. It can't be allowed on the broader scale just because it's another country. That cannot be allowed. The first step is acknowledging that it's occurring, and so that's where we're headed, he said. It'd be great if it could get a hearing and a vote in the Senate, but if it doesn't, we're just going to keep coming back until it does. Because, like I said, the practice is unacceptable. It is abhorrent. It is barbarian. It is medieval. And it must cease immediately. And the United States has to take the lead, because we certainly can't count on the Communist Party of China to do that. Republican U.S. presidential candidate Ron DeSantis announced on Sunday his intention to revoke China's permanent normal trade relations status if he won the 2024 presidential election. In an interview with Fox News on July 9th, DeSantis said, "I favor doing that. I think we probably need Congress, but I would take executive action as appropriate to be able to move us in that direction." He added that the Chinese regime is the number one geopolitical threat this country faces. Tensions between the US and China have persisted for years due to various national security concerns, such as Taiwan, export restrictions on advanced technologies, human rights issues, the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the trade war. In March, Senator Josh Hawley proposed a bill to cancel regular trade with the Chinese regime. Once this bill is passed, all Chinese products exported to the US may be subject to increased tariffs. In April, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy also mentioned that the Chinese regime should lose most favored nation status amid ongoing tension between the two countries. In 2000, the US Senate granted the Chinese Communist regime permanent normal trade relations status as part of its preparations to join the World Trade Organization. Any effort to revoke this status would require congressional approval, as it is a legal designation in the US that facilitates free trade with the foreign nation. Since then, the Chinese government has reaped enormous economic and technological benefits from the US. By 2020, bilateral trade turnover between the two countries was nearly $560 billion. An unclassified US Office of Naval Intelligence, or ONI, report says that if China's regime captured Taiwan, it would be disastrous for the US. The report explains that it would give Beijing greater military power. In addition, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, would control essential sea lanes and Taiwan's key technology, and be confident in following expansion activities. The report points out that once the CCP dominates Taiwan, many countries will turn to Beijing. Meanwhile, the US will suffer a decline in prestige and influence in the region. The US will lose a top 10 trading partner in Taiwan, and America's deterrence will decrease. In addition, it will be even more challenging for the US to forestall further erosion of international norms and rules-based order. The US will be seen as declining, and Taiwan, the last Chinese-speaking democracy in Asia, will collapse. The report added, "The survival of Taiwan's democracy is a critical geostrategic issue that carries long-term consequences for China, the US, and the international community." The report notes that Beijing appears to be trying to lay the groundwork for its annexation of Taiwan to coincide with the start of Xi Jinping's fourth term in 2027. The CCP is taking steps to isolate Taiwan, establish favorable military conditions, and increase political, military, and economic pressure on the island and its partners. In the wake of China's accession to the World Trade Organization, or WTO, at the beginning of the 21st century, numerous Chinese companies and entrepreneurs turned their attention to Africa, particularly the least developed countries on the continent. Over the past 2 decades, there has been a significant increase in Chinese companies venturing into Africa, driven partly by President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. These companies are involved in various industries, such as infrastructure development, commerce, and mining. Aside from taking advantage of inexpensive local labor, many young Chinese individuals who see little hope for their future in mainland China have sought opportunities in Africa. One such individual is Momo, a 22-year-old who graduated with a master's degree in management from a prestigious university in Guangzhou in July 2022. Mo visited Africa during a school project related to the work environment, which sparked her interest in the continent. She was recruited by a private Chinese technology company in the Democratic Republic of Congo to recruit local and Chinese employees. According to Momo's colleagues, the allure of working in Africa stems from the higher salaries offered in the region. While the basic wage for expatriates in Africa is comparable to that of similar positions in China, ranging from $2,000 to $2,760 or 15,000 to 20,000 yuan per month for individuals with a master's degree, the substantial subsidies provided by companies make a significant difference. These subsidies vary depending on the conditions of the country where employees are stationed, with higher offerings in more volatile and dangerous locations. Zheng Keyi, who graduated last year with a major in French from a well-known Chinese university, is another individual who sought economic opportunities in Africa. Zheng works for a private company in Cameroon, where she primarily focuses on sales. Zheng expressed her clear intention to make money during her time in Africa, stating that she and her classmates sought material security. They plan to work in Africa for 2 to 3 years before returning to China to purchase homes. Before Zheng ventured abroad, she worked for a domestic e-commerce company. In her mind, Africa was associated with malaria, poverty, and social unrest. However, after seeing a friend's photo showcasing the beauty of Algeria's architecture, Zheng's perspective began to change. 4 years later, she resigned and gained employment with a Chinese-funded company in Algeria as a translator and purchaser. The position offered a generous salary, and the company covered her accommodation expenses. The ability to accumulate savings is made easier by providing 1 month's paid leave and a return flight home paid for by the company. In a post on the Chinese Q&A platform Zhihu in August 2021, a user named Mo Daobu Duexiao shared their experience working in Africa for the past 7 years. The user revealed that working for Chinese state-owned enterprises in 3 African countries had allowed them to accumulate significant wealth. Exceptional individuals with leadership qualities in these companies could earn approximately $138,000, almost 1 million yuan, while higher incomes were also possible. The user further disclosed that Huawei and other Chinese state-owned enterprises were the highest-paying entities in Africa. According to Mo Daobu Duexiao, Huawei employees claimed to receive a daily allowance of $100 and various bonuses, resulting in annual earnings of $55,000 to $69,000 for entry-level employees. In contrast, state-owned enterprises offered salaries starting at over $13,800 per year, which could exceed $41,500 depending on the position. Details of bonuses and other payments remain undisclosed. Contrary to common preconceptions about Africa, Mo Daobu Duexiao stated that the living conditions for Chinese workers were generally favorable. Chinese individuals predominantly lived in Chinese communities, and the construction industry's offices, branches, and project facilities were well equipped and functional, barring specific projects. However, there are concerns regarding illegal Chinese workers in Africa. Chinese companies operating on the continent can be categorized into 3 groups: high-tech companies such as Huawei, ZTE, Oppo, and DJI, state-owned enterprises involved in infrastructure development, like China State Construction, and private enterprises engaged in commerce. Unfortunately, some workers are involved in illegal economic and commercial activities. According to the European Council of Foreign Relations, the number of Chinese individuals engaged in economic and commercial activities in Africa has surpassed 1 million. 4 groups of Chinese workers are involved in illegal activities on the continent. The first group consists of individuals who have yet to apply for a work permit, but are already working in Africa. The second group includes those whose work permits have expired, but who continue working without obtaining a new permit. The third group comprises individuals who engage in economic and commercial activities through informal means, such as entering the country on tourist visas. Finally, the fourth group encompasses individuals who conduct economic and commercial activities that violate regulations and lack proper documentation. Instances of illegal Chinese labor in Africa have led to hatred among locals, particularly in Nigeria. The hostility toward Chinese workers has escalated to robberies and attacks targeting the Chinese community. Ghana has also experienced an influx of illegal Chinese gold miners, with thousands of Chinese nationals engaging in small-scale mining activities in contravention of the country's mining laws. Under President John Dramani Mahama's leadership, the Ghanaian government established a working group to address the issue, resulting in the arrest and deportation of numerous illegal Chinese gold miners. The The situation regarding illegal Chinese workers in Africa underscores the complex challenges Chinese companies as well as local authorities face in ensuring compliance with regulations and curbing unlawful activities.